Hey everyone, this is Real Estate Riches Podcast, and boy, is it going to be rich, full of the wealth and the tips and the tricks of all kinds of successful agents, because that's what you want to be, right? A business builder who has success in their business. Well, that's what we got going on here. And I'm going to have all kinds of agents, men, women, young or older, sharing all their stuff because there's technology, there's just how do you build your business? There's so many questions, right? So let's learn from some of the best. Gather your wealth and build your business. That's what this channel is all about. And I'm excited to bring it to you. I'm Kathy Byrnes and I'll be your host. And stay tuned. Let's get at it, right? Hey, everybody. It's Kathy Byrnes and I'm here with Christine Leister. She says Lister would be a good way, especially in the real estate business. And I love that idea. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited. You've got a unique story, and that's really what I'm trying to bring here. The whole purpose of this is to help agents really learn from each other because the industry wasn't designed that way, and it's been a culture of keeping your secrets held tight. And that's really a scarcity mentality. I don't like that mentality. I really like it when we all collaborate together and empower each other. And by sharing stories like Christine's, it's an important piece because you may register with that. And I think you might too, because she's got some good stuff here. So, Christine, you want to kind of give us a little background, how you got into real estate, your journey, and kind of give everybody a feel.
Yeah, sure. So I got into real estate really early. The full backstory, I graduated high school at 17. So I was
Mm.
working at a credit union at the time through a work program through my high school. And the day I graduated was the day I lost my job because you had to be 18 to work at the credit union.
Oh,
So I was freshly out of high school, had no job, and I just started going around to local businesses in town, dropping off resumes. And I came across a Coldwell Banker in town, and they took my resume, and I got a call, did a board interview, ended up getting brought on as a part-time assistant to a top producer, a part-time property manager assistant.
mm.
And at that time, I was unlicensed. So the property manager ended up getting pregnant with her husband. When she went off on maternity leave, the broker approached me asking me, "Hey, would you get into property management full time?" And so I said yes, got my license at that point, and I was in property management for 5 years with 425 doors under my belt. So
Wow.
top producing agent over there too.
That's amazing. And I learned a lot of things from what you just said. First of all, you didn't have a job, so you figured out, well, I'm going to go walk the streets. I'm going to figure this out. You
Yep.
weren't a quitter, and I really love that about you. And then you evolved to where you got your license, 425 doors, did you say?
Yeah. And at the time it was me and the lead property manager. So there were two of us, and then the gal that took off for maternity leave came back. So eventually there were three of us managing 425 doors.
Wow. And you did not have the same technology that we do today, I'm sure.
No. No.
Yeah.
They back in the day they would, you'd go get a rental list and it'd be on an Excel sheet. There was no website, like there was
Oh
no
man.
app. There was you came into each property management company, got a list, and then, would drive around town and say, "Oh, we like this one. We want to go look at it."
Wow, that's amazing. So you got a lot of grit, girl. I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, Then you decided, tell us the story. You mentioned it to me a little earlier about how you actually got where you were selling real estate and kind of shifting away.
Sure. So when I was in property management, me and my husband got pregnant with my daughter, and I wanted to take off the first year with her. We had made a bet. He said, if you take 6 months of savings, then you can quit. So I did. And so the first year my daughter was born in 2015, I was home with her. And when I returned to the workforce, I actually went back to work for a Navy base, a government job. And I kept my license active the whole time, was working on base for a few years, and one of my coworkers' sisters had heard that I had my license. And so she had wanted to sell her house. She asked me, "Hey, would you sell my house?" And I didn't want to. I was like, "No, I don't want to pay the dues. I'm not really quite sure I want to get into sales." Because at that point I had only done property management. I didn't have
Yeah.
any, sales experience.
Experience.
So she kind of broke me down, and finally I was like, okay, fine. So I paid my dues, I bought the sign, got the lockbox, did all the things, ended up selling two of her houses for her and still working on base full time.
Wow.
Once that was over, I never advertised. I never told anybody. It was all word of mouth, friends, family, things like that. And my business just kind of slowly, would get bigger. I'd have people tell me like, "Hey, I hear you're back in real estate." Yeah, 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 So I was working full time at the time, and I got to the point where I was working 18 plus hour days, and I just was so stressed out that at age 27 I broke out with shingles on my face from
Mm,
stress.
yeah.
And
This
I just
business will
wasn't
do
ready to
that to
let
you.
go yet. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember going to the optometrist, and he looked me dead in my eyes, like, "What are you doing? You're gonna kill
Yeah.
yourself before you're 30." And
Yeah.
why? And I'm like, "I don't know." But I was really scared to quit. So
Sure.
came home, had the conversation with my husband, "Hey, I think I'm gonna quit my job." He asked which one. Oh, we have a guest experience, guest appearance here. Sorry about that. Asked which one. I said the government, and he said, okay. So I ended up quitting my job after about a 2 month process of kind of really weighing my options in
Mhm.
October of 2020. And I've been doing it full time ever since.
Which is an interesting date, October 2020. We're full on COVID right then. And
Absolutely.
that was a challenging, people didn't know, are we ever going to get out of COVID? Are we ever going to be on not on lockdown? In our area, we were deemed non-essential in some counties and essential in others. So it was tricky to do business. How was it for you there?
So it was the same. I mean, being in California, we had some pretty strict restrictions. I remember at one point we had these forms that we would have to fill out when we'd go show property to the buyers, and then allowing us to give permission to go into the house. So, I mean, it was a whole thing, but
Mhm.
it was crazy to think. I mean, I had a government job. I was DOD with, 401k, the daycare benefits I had and all that. And
Ooh.
it just was something that I knew I needed to do. So
But
that's when I
but you know
jumped
what?
ship.
You proved yourself when you took on that property management job to the level that you did. I mean, you've told me that you get the majority of your leads through referrals and stuff. And you're from a small town, right?
Yeah, there's 30,000 of us here. So
Yeah.
small.
So you're a small town. You're probably well known, especially if you were doing property management like that. You're out and about. Social media wasn't to the level that it is today. And
No.
yet you built a reputation, I'm sure, of integrity. Yeah, I feel it. Of integrity, someone that they could count on. You worked so hard that you made yourself sick. So people knew your style. And that was smart that you made a decision for you. It was a gift to you and your family and your daughter. And I think that that's why people trust you and pick up on it and want to do business with you, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think the thing is I don't, with agents that come into my office that are maybe new to the industry, I don't share that story quite enough, I think, because,
Mhm.
when I came into sales full time at 2020, looking back, it was like I was a overnight success. Like I just went from, starting into the real estate, and then now I'm up here with the high producers. But the reality of it was I had a lot of influence behind me, being in the industry alone, that was kind of more behind the scenes because I never really had any intention on getting into sales. Even when I was in property management, I would see the agents stressed out, walking around like crazy, and again, we talked about before a little about culture, and the culture that I was in at that brokerage, it wasn't pretty. So
Yeah,
it didn't show me like why would I want to go do that? Like they hate each
yeah,
other,
yeah,
like that sounds crazy. So I never intended on it. It's just, those little things kind of carried with me through it, but
sure.
definitely.
So do you have your own firm now, or where are you at now?
So I'm with Keller Williams here
Hmm.
in town. So we are a satellite office to the broker. They actually sit in the Antelope Valley, which is about an hour and a half away from us. So I think there's 450 agents total, but there's only 13 that sit in my little office.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm familiar with the satellite offices. I was only at Keller for about 8 months before I joined a team when
Mm,
I got to Keller. And 2 weeks after I joined the team, they said, we're going to EXP. I'd never even heard of it. I'm
yeah.
like, whatever. At that point in my life, there was so much turmoil going on. I'm like, just going at that point. I built a nice business for myself. Um, my business partner decided to go another path, so I was regrouping with what's it like to be a single agent again with, and I had an assistant as well. But I also all of a sudden got my mother who had dementia, and I needed to take care of her. And it was a lot happening at one time. And I thought, let me get on a team because I'd had my own team. We dispersed and it was a lot, and there isn't necessarily support. I didn't have a husband. It was just me trying to do this, and I was kind of going backwards in my business. Built up a nice business that we were very successful at. And then when my partner went another direction, it was, regrouping. Not that I
Yeah.
can't do it because I can reinvent myself pretty easy, but at that initial switch, it's challenging, isn't it? You know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to tell the agents that were in the sales business for years, like, and pardon my French, but I would say, I feel like I'm just throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks.
yeah,
They would joke, just keep throwing it because it's working, but
yeah,
there was no, when I went into sales, it was just you figure it out what works for you, what works for your personality, what works for, you know, your customer, things like
yeah.
that. I mean, I feel like that's probably something that is kind of a gap in our industry in general is that these agents that come on, maybe they tell you the world is yours and there's no ceiling, which I agree, but there's also a floor. And
Yeah,
at some point you're gonna maybe start at the floor and it's like you just don't know where to start or even sometimes how to start. Where do you start? And I think that
right.
that's a big part of it, trying to figure out what works.
I do too. I do think the industry's changing. I do think that there is a newer culture coming alive. I think there are companies out there that are really feeling the importance of mentorship in the
Yes.
beginning and collaboration. That's the goal of this video. It's really about collaborating and so that people can pick up nuggets like, well, I feel better. I feel more secure because I'm in her spot. I feel like, all right, I can do this. And I think what we need to do is dig deep. Like when we're like doing a change, we got to dig deep. Have I experienced change before? Have I gotten through this? Yeah, I have. I
Yeah.
know I have. I've reinvented myself so many friggin' times.
Yeah.
And when you have those different sucker punches, like getting out of high school and you lost your job, which is the sucker punch for you, right?
Right.
You didn't let it stop you, even though you were scared. As you said, you were shaking in your pants, but they were wide pants or something, and
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
could see.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you persevered despite it. And
Yeah.
I think things like this, where people will come into play and they can say, "I can relate to her," and I want to reach out to her. I'd love to get some insight from Christine or from Kathy and see how we can, level up our business. I'm with EXP. Our company does have mentoring. We do have all kinds of state of the art training, and it's a metaverse company, so it's all online.
Right.
And I'm not saying you need to come to either company. I'm saying do your
Yeah.
homework, people,
Yeah.
because there are opportunities and there's certainly agents. I feel like you would be a sharer. I'll bet in your
Oh,
office you share.
yeah. I mean, I always tell people I don't have the secret ingredient. There's no
Uh-huh.
secret ingredient. It's just, it's if you what you put into it is what you get out of it.
Yep.
I always hate online when they're like, "Oh, I made $300,000 and only worked 4 hours a day. Like, follow me for
Mm,
more." And it's like, did you?
right.
Because I know I work a hell of a lot more than 3 hours a day. I mean, my
Mhm.
days are long, but I make sure that that's where I want to be. You don't have to be there. And I think that was
Right.
something for me too that I really had to look inward on and kind of settle with that because again, they always teach you like, oh, there's more, there's more, there's more. And then I remember I do have a business coach. I meet with him
Good.
every week. And I remember talking to my coach like, okay, hear me out. what if
Mhm.
I'm good? Like, what if my production level, I'm good, the income's good? Like, what if and he was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And I was like,
Right?
oh, like I was anticipating him to be like, no, you have more, you can do more. Like, and, maybe another coach would, but it was kind of like, you have to sit down and realize like maybe you don't want to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off and doing open
Right.
house Saturdays and all the things that make take to be where you're at, but know that you can still make your job, your dream, your passion, your whatever it is, freedom, whatever your goal
Right.
is. You just have to be
Right.
clear about what that is. You
Right.
know,
I used to beat myself up about it. Boy, I'm not as good as that one, or I'm not as good as
sure.
that one. But I'm
Absolutely.
very content where I am, and the level where I'm at is good. Just like
Right.
you're saying,
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm older too. I at this stage of the game, I don't want to be working those 14, 18-hour days anymore. I want to
Yeah.
have fun. I want to travel. I want to empower other agents. That charges me. So let
Yeah.
me teach, let me help them, level them up, and that empowers me. And I make a good living in my real estate.
Right.
I can do this, and I'm looking to work with those agents. I'm looking for the ones that are looking for me that said, could you help me level up? I'd love to level up. And that's really what I'm doing this for. And
Yeah.
I have another YouTube channel that's called Tech Savvy Realty Solutions.
Okay.
And there's a lot of agents. You're younger, so you probably are involved much more with the tech. There's a lot of good, talented realtors that they are just not there with the tech. And
Hmm.
this wave of AI technology that's happening, you better, or you will drown
Yep.
because too many agents are taking it up. And I've always loved tech. So for me, this is a no-brainer. I'm just diving in. And that's the other thing I want to do. I want to teach them the tech. Not
Yeah.
all of the tech, but teach them the tech that'll work for them.
Right.
So it'll make their business easier, more efficient. And I'm teaching 18 people tomorrow in Portugal AI. And they're not utilizing it in their business. And it's a luxury real estate firm. And I'm like, guys, let me just show you some tricks.
Well, and
So
I
I
think
can
the
make it
thing with
more efficient.
technology too, it's similar to your customer base. Like if it's something you enjoy doing, it's not as hard to learn how to
Yeah.
do it, right?
Right.
So like my assistant and I, we always like if we have a TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and I mean, we have a lot of fun with it, but it's not
Yes.
like my go-to, like, oh, I'm gonna try and capture all. I mean, maybe I'm utilizing it wrong, but for me, the job is very mentally straining. So I enjoy the creativity aspect of
Yes.
the TikTok. So for me, it lets my creativity brain kind of go. And so then it makes it more fun and I'm going to do it every day instead of,
Yeah.
but like if you're not, I always see the get ready with me, they do their makeup. If you're not into makeup, then don't do a get ready with me.
Yeah.
If you drink coffee and you're telling them about how, you're making a smoothie, don't video the smoothie. Make video you making a coffee and then put it on your TikTok or whatever it is. Like I think that's a big part of it is finding out what you enjoy doing and then
Yep.
just using that because then it doesn't feel so like, oh, like I don't want to stare at a computer screen and put makeup on or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? I mean,
Right.
for
Yeah.
me, I don't like dancing, right? My assistant's always like, "Oh, you need to do the one with the dance." And I'm like, "No, I
No.
don't want to do that." And we haven't yet. I mean, I'm not saying you won't see it on our social media, but you haven't yet because it's like, oh, it makes me like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I'm never
Yeah.
going to do that myself. No.
Yeah.
I just got off interviewing another gal. Her name is Kate Murphy. She's 27 or 28. She's an investor. She's a coach. She's a flipper. And her whole social media is Instagram.
Yeah.
And she has done over $30 million on by capturing people through Instagram
Wow.
using a tool, it's an AI tool called ManyChat. And man, what she was teaching was how to be efficient and actually capture your social media because a lot of people are putting posts on there, but they're not getting anything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and she captures it. We're on a panel together the end of the month where she's going to talk all about how she captures it. And I'm going to be doing it on how to create an AI on different communities so that you'll know all the details about specific communities. And that's always like a go-to piece for you that you can
Right.
then go in to AI and say, tell me what's going on in the community now because of how you've set it all up in there. And my daughter's on the panel as well, and she's going to be teaching all about how you prompt it.
Right.
So people will really learn how to utilize AI in
Yeah.
a understandable process with handouts that they can take home. And again, when you give like that, people are drawn to whichever one of those personalities are on that panel, or like with you and me, they're going to
Yeah.
want to reach out and say, hey, could I learn from you? I get you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I mean, I always tell people there's enough to go around.
There
Um,
is.
there just is.
It
You don't
just
have to
is.
be cutthroat and backstabbing. I always joke, like, I didn't have drama in high school. I'm not gonna have drama as an adult. Like,
I love that.
I just that's not me. So
It's not me
there's enough to
either.
go around.
My license plate says empower. And that's my thought process. I want everybody to be lifted up and lift me up too.
Yep.
I don't have any time for the drama and the nonsense that goes on in the world, much less in real estate. So
Amen. Amen.
what was I going to ask you? I know you mentioned that you had a lot of success with mailings. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that.
Yeah, so well, for our production, we're kind of 50-50 on the listing side of the house and on the buyer side of the house. So I think last year we had 26 listings, 28 buyers. A
Mm-hmm.
year before we did 36 listings, 32 buyers. So we're pretty even Steven. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm doing our mailing, it's more targeted towards the listing side of the house.
Sure.
And then when we're doing like our social media and things, it tends to be more towards buyers. But one of the things that we did, were again with Keller Williams, we had taken a class with Monica Reynolds, and Monica Reynolds is a top producer in the San Diego area, I believe. She runs a high
Hmm.
volume team down there. And she, like you're saying, you take the class and she tells you everything. Like
Yeah.
nothing is off limits. You can ask questions, you can take her binders, her handouts, her email templates. I mean, you name it, she gives it. And
Love.
we took that and we modified it a little bit to more fit more our customer base and our community and stuff like that. So we do two different types. We do one to generate the lead. We do what people know as a golden letter,
Oh,
and we send out a letter to a farm area, and we're very specific about who we're sending our letters to. We target more of the people because, again, we're in California. So a lot of people are going to retire from California and move to Florida or Texas
yep.
or something. They're going to be leaving because of the taxes and things like that for retirement. So we are very specific. We look at people that are 65 and older and have bought in the last, from 2017 on, somebody
Mhm.
who's getting ready to prepare for retirement and get ready to leave. And we get calls all the time on our letters because it's pretty generic. It's not very, it is customized. It says, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. My name is Christine. I have a qualified buyer that's looking for these requirements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If your house fits this, call us. They're ready to make a competitive offer. Pretty much the
Mhm.
gist of it. And we
Mhm.
get calls, hey, I got your letter in the mail. What are you thinking? Oh, great. Thank you for calling us on the letter. Is there a time that I could come out and help do a market analysis for you? And then that's where we capture the lead. And then, of course, if they're not ready to sell, we do the follow up, things like that.
Mhm.
Once we actually have a listing, so moving forward, we do a 3-part listing, or excuse me, letter step, if you will.
Mhm.
So we take the listing, we have our sellers fill out a little fun sheet about their house. What do they love about it? Is it the neighborhood, the open kitchen, the backyard, whatever it is?
Mhm.
And we write the letter for the seller. So it says, hello, neighbor. We've lived in this house since X date. And as you can see, there's a sign in the front. We've chosen Christine to sell our house. Wouldn't it be great to find a neighbor or someone that would be interested in living in this neighborhood? Here's a few things we love about the house. If you mention this letter to our realtor or to your realtor about this house, we'll make you a discount, right? Then we send that out to the surrounding neighbors. So once we get the listing, we send the letter to the neighbors, and
Oh, I love this.
we do the letter so it looks like they wrote it. Of course, we send it to the sellers to say, hey, proofread it. Let us know that this is right. They
Yeah.
say yes, and then we do the labeling, we do the stamps, and then we do the return address as their address. So like
Wow.
when the neighbor gets it, it says Mr. and Mrs. Smith at the top, not Christine Leister. Um,
Interesting.
we get a lot of calls from that too. And then once we get it into contract, we ask our sellers, hey, can we send out another letter on your behalf to let the neighbors know a little bit about your new neighbor? Sure. So then we send a little neighbor, oh, it's in contract. Thank you for the neighbors that sent us leads and it's in escrow. We'll let you know when the family closes. And then the last letter that we send is again with permission from our seller to say pretty much, hey, the house is sold. We're going to miss you. Reach out to Christine. She helped us. She's great. Thank you.
Wow.
So
So I love that. So her name was Monica Edwards
Monica Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah. We got that from her and we do it with every listing. And I mean, it's a lot of labor, because again, you're
worth it.
handwriting a lot of envelopes, but worth it. I actually just met a client 2 weeks ago. They called her parents called my sign to go look at a house. And anyway, I'm in the house with them and she says, I I have your business card on my fridge. And I
Oh,
said,
wow.
really? She said, yeah, you sold my neighbor's house on Purdue. And I got a letter in the mail from them saying you sold their house. And so I have you on my fridge. And I said, if I ever were to sell, I would give you a call. And I'm like, great, here I am. She wasn't
That's
ready to
awesome.
sell, but she kept my stuff.
Yeah, I love that. So when you first mailed out that very targeted thing, what was the tool that you used to figure out who was that target market?
So our title rep company gives us their title. I don't even know what it's called. It's called Title Pro 24/7, I think.
Oh,
So our title rep gives us access to it and we can pull. And of course, we're very diligent about making sure that they're not on the do not mail list. And
hmm,
then of course, we don't call, like I don't do cold calling, but we do make sure and we keep that part private. If they're not on it, we exclude them. So we
sure.
don't want to send them
Well,
anything.
there's a tool called Propstream that where you can pull that exact data and you can filter it and pull it out, but you pay for it, where I like yours is free better.
Yeah.
Um, but that was great. Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing that, because that's a nugget right here that somebody is going to benefit from for sure. Hustlers are going to benefit from it because that
Yeah,
was a lot of work
it
and
is.
yet clearly rewardable, right?
Oh yeah, and I think one of the things about it too is staying consistent. And another thing in this world of sales, if you will, you always hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, don't do postcards. Oh, don't send letters. Like nobody opens their mail anymore." We don't experience that. We actually get a really good return on it. And I've also had neighbors like write me a letter back. So
Wow.
I guess maybe know your market and see if it's
Yeah,
if it's worth it. For us, it's worth it. I think that there's something tangible about a piece of paper from your neighbor that's not something that's common anymore. Like,
right.
you may
Well,
not
you
know
said
your neighbor.
handwritten too, didn't you?
So we don't handwrite the letter itself, but we do handwrite the return address.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's personable enough to open it up. And
Right.
now you're talking about my neighbor, my neighborhood. Is it branded in any way? What's the letter look like?
So it's no, for the most part. Well, so the letter to the neighbors is supposed to look like it's from the seller, right? So
Gotcha.
it's just very plain Jane, nothing, no pizzazz, no nothing.
Yeah.
Um, the letter that we do to farm for what we do call again the golden letter, that has a little bit more eye-catchy, design and like, hey, give us a call
Mhm.
kind of a deal. And then when we do the letter to the neighbors, the first letter with our listings, we don't include a business card. With the second and third letter to the neighbors, we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that
Yeah.
was great. Boy, I really appreciated this, Christine. This is
Yeah.
awesome. You're great. And I loved having you on. And I appreciate it so much. And we're going to have all your contact information here if people want to get in touch with you
Sure.
and see if they can connect with you, especially in your area. And we'll be sending you a copy of the video, of course. Appreciate it so much. And I wish you the best day.
Yeah, thank you. And then you guys can always follow me on Instagram. My handle is your hometown realtor, or on Facebook, it's Christine.Leister.kw. Always available. I do work again next to a Navy base. So if you have any military clients, we do deal with a lot of VA buyers that are transferring to and from China Lake. So I'm looking for referral partners as much as you are for me. So let us know. We're here to help.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks again. I appreciate it. So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. And let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.